What was the toughest conversation, Logan? Was it with with the coach, with Mike Greer, or your wife?
I think they were all difficult. Talking to my parents as well. It was a weird spot to be in. People were asking, but at the same time, I think a lot of people were scared to ask. At least my friends and family that are not around here. But my wife knew because she saw me every day, and we talked about it. But yeah, I mean, the Sharks have been so supportive. It's still difficult when it comes to the time that. I had to make the decision ultimately, and but I'm glad that they were very supportive.
Can
Yeah,
you
I don't know
can
this.
you explain maybe a little more detail for people who aren't as familiar with the injury you had and how you decided to retire?
Sure, yeah. I originally got hurt, and I believe it was early July of 2023. Off-season training. I was running a treadmill at our facility here in San Jose on incline, just sprints that I normally did, for the last 15 years, and felt something strange. So went and got an MRI, and it didn't really look too bad. So just took a week or so off, and then continued to train the rest of the summer and skate and ramp up for the season. And once I started to really push it on the ice, I felt weird. My groins were sore, my hips were sore. So I went and got another MRI in early September, and that's when it showed osteitis pubis. And I remember going in and meeting with the doctors and our trainer, and really having no idea what the injury was. I had never heard of it before. They gave me a quick overview. They said it's an injury that it's tough to predict how long it's going to be. You could feel better in a week, you could feel better in 4 months, or there's a possibility that it doesn't get better. So I started to research it and looked into which athletes commonly had this injury. Found out it's a lot of hockey players, a lot of soccer players, a lot of Aussie rural football players, and looked at some guys that were able to recover, some guys that weren't, unfortunately, some guys that ended their careers young, and did some research with some other hockey players that have had it. Reached out to a few guys around the NHL, guys that are still playing, guys that aren't anymore, and kind of got a feel for what I was in for. We attacked it many different ways with physiotherapy, with cortisone shots, with different types of I guess other types of therapy as well. I traveled around the States to see doctors. The Sharks brought doctors in here. Finally found a doctor in San Francisco last year I thought we had figured something out, and I was going to move past it. I got back skating. I got back playing. But after the first couple of games, it just wasn't right. It was in extreme pain. I played 6 games last year. We had the bye week. I remember the last game in Anaheim. I could barely walk before the game, but I figured that I would try and get through it and then have the break with my family. We're going to go down to Mexico, and after the game, I felt terrible. I told the coaches, I said, I don't know how this is going to react because I can barely get up the steps of the bus. And got into Mexico a couple days into that trip. I couldn't get out of bed. My wife had to help me out of bed and turn the trip into a tough time. And then that was it for the season, unfortunately. And this summer, I went back home to Canada, and I felt okay. I thought I was going to rehab and train, and I felt okay until July. They flew me out to New York to meet a specialist out there, and he did another MRI, another assessment, and he said, "No, you can't skate. You gotta do some different stuff and try something different." So we tried another program all the way up until about December of this year, and I'd feel good for a day, and then it'd be extremely sore, and kind of felt like we were going backwards again. And from what I've been told with this injury, the more that you re-aggravate it, the harder the chance is that you're going to get back to play, especially at my age. I just turned 36, and I've been through a lot of hockey games over the years, a lot of playoff games, a lot of hard times on my body, and I wasn't going to get back to a place where I could play, a place where I could play multiple games in a week. Maybe I could skate once every 10 days and take a while off, and that's just not realistic to be a player in the NHL.
And so, like, how do you feel today?
I feel okay. I'm not hockey specific training anymore. I'm more so training to try and stay in shape. As most hockey players find out once you finish playing that it's easy to put weight on. So I'm trying to stay in shape in that regard. I'm trying to be healthy enough that I can spend time with my kids. My daughter's about to turn 6 months, and I have a 22-month-old son, so they're about to get it really active. I'm good enough to walk them around the block for a while in their strollers. I can play golf the odd time. I take maybe once every 2 weeks because I'm just so sore after that. But yeah, I think if I stop, specific hockey training, that I'll be back to normal. At least I hope somewhat normal in the next couple of years, and can live my life normally.
So you are limited still.
Yeah, still limited. Anything as simple as walking uphill still aggravates it for an extended period of time. I ride the bike. I got a Peloton behind me that I ride, and if I go pretty hard, I'm sore the rest of the day. I mean, sore is about a 3 or 4 on the scale of where I was. I was a 10 when I was playing hockey. I couldn't walk. I couldn't go upstairs. So manageable, but it still bothers me.
How does it present differently than a groin injury?
Well, it's in between the two pelvic bones, and there's a possibility, although it doesn't show on an X-ray, that it's shifted, so the bones are off. Okay. So really, anytime that you step, or in hockey sense, you take a stride, it's pulling the wrong way, so it's pulling on different muscles, and it's groin pain, it's deep, achy bone feeling pain, which is at the front of where the original injury is, and then it's all the way down below as well, with like deep bone ache, and then the muscle pain is just simple groin and like lower stomach pain from time to time.
So could the interpretation at time that it was a sports hernia?
That's what I originally thought it was. Yes, I thought when I was running on the treadmill that I had a hernia, because that's where I originally felt the pain. But they quickly found out that it wasn't that. Like I said, I had no idea what osteitis pubis was until it was explained to me, and I did my own research online as well.
That's the most dangerous thing, by the way, as you grow older, doing your own research.
Stayed up late a lot of nights looking at that. So
yeah. Does it all go back to that first tweak, or was there something there before?
No one really knows. It's been explained as it could be an acute injury over an injury that has accumulated over the time of just so many strides and so much, I guess, stress on the groin area. The skating stride's not a natural position for the body to be into, and eventually it just breaks down, I guess.
It does. I've been around the game a long time, Logan, and have lots of friends, guys who played as long as you have. And they at times later in life, not when they're 36, but when they're 50, they say, I'm not sure it was worth it. Does it ever enter your mind?
Not right now. Definitely not right now. We'll see down the road, but I don't think so. I mean, hockey is my love. It's all I ever wanted to do when I was a young kid. I dreamt of playing in the NHL, and I got to play a long time. I got to play with some really good teams. So some of the best memories of my lifetime came playing here in San Jose for the Sharks. And, when I sit around outside in the beautiful California sun, I think of some of those memories.
You don't have to rub that part in, man.
Some of those playoff runs that we had, and those are some of the fondest memories of my life.